All right, Fran, you're all set.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Welcome to the December 9th meeting of the Connecticut Paid Leave Board of Directors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 8:37 by my watch. And Amber, would you kindly take attendance?
Yes, thank you, Fran. Ava Bermuda Zimmerman.
Present.
Isha Canada.
Present.
Adrienne Cochran. Adrienne, have you joined us yet? Not just yet. Britt Marie Cole Johnson.
Present.
Michelle Gilman.
Present.
Sheila Hummel.
Sheila mentioned
Sheila,
she may be joining us later.
Great, thank you. Sal Luciano.
Same was true for Sal. He may be joining us later.
Thank you. Alex Marcelino.
I was not able to reach him about today's meeting.
Thank you. Ellen McKitterick.
Present.
Fran Pastor.
Present.
John Scott.
Here.
Mike Soltis.
Here.
Molly Weston Williamson.
Present.
Holly Williams.
Present.
Justin Zartman.
Present.
Thank you all. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Amber. And I would like to thank the members of the public for joining us. And let's move right into our meeting. May I have a motion to approve the November 10th, 2022 minutes, which were distributed earlier this week?
So moved. Michelle.
Are there any? Thank you, Michelle. Are there any corrections or further discussion needed? May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And the motion carries. Thank you so much. Erin, you're up. Would you kindly lead the discussion on the revisions to the policy regarding private plan transitions?
Thank you, Fran. Hey, my deck is a little bit involved. So this morning we want to talk with you about our proposed policy for the transition for private plans. Just as a reminder, the transition is we're talking about a change to the entity financially responsible for providing benefits, essentially going from the CT paid leave program to a private plan, going from a private plan back to us, or a private to private. And our goals, as we identified earlier in the fall, were to minimize the burden on claimants, minimize administrative complexity, make sure that the plan or policy is something that can be implemented in connection with all leave types, including intermittent leaves, which can be tricky. We have a statutory obligation to make sure that the private plans provide equal or better benefits as the public programs. That's always top of mind. As is making sure that whatever we do is easy to explain and understand for employers and employees. So with those goals in mind, we created a policy that it had two primary elements. The first is that it requires a run out. Right now, what happens is if there is a new plan, as of the date of the new plan, all claims cease. The claimants have to file with the new carrier. And it's honestly quite difficult and cumbersome, and we were asked to revisit that. And so our new proposal is to have the run out, meaning that the old plan will continue to administer any claims that began while the old plan was in effect. Only exception to having this be the standard practice is where the authority involuntarily terminates the private plan for cause, and we determine that to protect the interests of those covered employees, authority should take over the claim. If we've determined that there's some sort of malfeasance or wrongdoing, not that we expect that to happen, but just in case, we would never want the employees to be stuck with a plan that we felt was not providing the appropriate care. Second piece is what to do with their entitlement, 12 weeks of income replacement benefits in a 12-month period. Our recommendation, which I'll discuss in a moment when we get into the comments, is to require new plan or provider to provide a fresh 12 weeks, a new allotment of 12 weeks of income replacement benefits under the new plan, regardless of whether the employees received any income replacement under the old plan. This does not change their job protected entitlements at all. That's all under FMLA. But the question here is just the administration of the income replacement. We did receive a comment from the industry suggesting that it would be appropriate to allow private plans the flexibility to decide whether to provide a fresh 12 or reduce the entitlement by each individual's claim history with their previous carrier or provider. The thing is, the reason we came up with the fresh 12 as our recommendation is because the alternative, using the history approach, is fraught with difficulty and complexity. Just by way of example, different plans can adopt one of 4 different methods for calculating a 12-month period when we're talking about 12 weeks of benefits in a 12-month period. If you switch plans, you could be switching 12 months, and trying to account for those variations is really tricky. We've also talked in the past about the fact that you could have a claimant who has an ongoing chronic condition where they're receiving intermittent leave and getting benefits for that, that could carry through. So they're receiving intermittent leave benefits from their old carrier and now have a new claim with the new carrier. Trying to adjust the history in that situation would require daily or potentially weekly interaction between the 2 different carriers, which is incredibly burdensome. It's very difficult. It's hard enough to do when you have one provider managing multiple claims. Trying to cross that across multiple providers and multiple claimants is incredibly difficult. The more difficult, the more prone to error. And thus, just in general, anytime you have a history and takeover, there are a variety of administrative and technical burdens that happen even when it's a straight one-to-one carryover. We have heard from the industry this is very difficult, and we haven't heard anybody address these complexities or offer us a path to resolve these complexities. And so we're still of the opinion that the fresh 12 is the best approach to make sure that employees receive the benefits they're entitled to, that the employees who go from private plan to private plan are not harmed compared to employees who are going from public to private or private to public. We think this is the fairest and easiest to administer approach. There are other comments that I'm happy to discuss. This is the sort of the biggest one, so I don't know if you want to do the discussion on this first, or you want me to go through the whole slides.
If there are no questions at this point, I think we should probably proceed.
Okay.
Erin.
So the comments are a little bit more technical, but still we wanted to address them. The next 2 relate to the definition of an open paid claim. So of course, if you're going to carry your open paid claims through the run out, what does that mean? There was a comment that we should define it to exclude extensions of existing claims beyond the 12-month period. But we think this is unnecessary and actually will cause confusion. Under federal and state FMLA and under Connecticut paid leave policy, a claim can never extend beyond 12 months. If you have a situation where you continue to need to be out, you would have to file a new claim and run a new eligibility, new benefit calculations. So we think defining the term to exclude something that should never exist just creates confusion. The second comment was to always treat childbirth recovery and bonding as 2 separate claims, even when there's no return to work. So the pregnant parent, perhaps they start leave on the day of the childbirth. The way FMLA and CT paid leave works is we treat that first, often 6 to 8 weeks, as recovery from childbirth as a serious health condition. And then if the parent wants to continue to stay out of work, we transition it into bonding. We do not rerun eligibility. We do not rerun the benefit calculations. this is, again, consistent with how FMLA works. One of the biggest issues that we're working to improve, actually, is simplifying the birth and bonding process so that we don't have to create two separate claims. We don't have, because right now we ask for additional documentation. We approve for 6 weeks, and then we say, okay, but come back again and you get your next 6 weeks, but we're still open, it's still one claim. It actually adds a lot of confusion, even as we do it right now. And so we're working to simplify that. This proposal would send us in the complete opposite, and we think wrong direction, by requiring there to always be a break, always run new eligibility, always run new benefit calculations, which is both contrary to FMLA and really burdensome on claimants during a period of time when they really are sleep deprived and don't want to add more filing obligations. So we would not recommend making this change. Let me just make sure. Okay. Next question or comment relates to a provision we added to be very clear that you can only receive CT paid leave program benefits from one provider, be it the public program or a private plan. And so if a person is out, say, every Friday for dialysis from 10 to 5, only one CT paid leave provider can cover that time. If they're out on Tuesdays for another reason, a different provider may cover that. The comment was to revise this sentence to state the prohibition applies only when they have two separate claim reasons, but that's actually not what we wanted to say. We think that the comment may have been conflating the private plan CT paid leave program with short-term disability or long-term disability, which can supplement a private plan. But we sort of stand by the fact that if I'm out on every Friday from 10 to 5, only one carrier should be providing me for benefits under the CT paid leave program for that. And it doesn't address the short-term disability. So we don't want there to be this concept of a private plan supplementing the public program or two private plans running concurrently for the same absence. And then the last one relates to the fact that with the runout, the old provider is responsible for the old claims. The new provider is responsible for any new claims that start as of the date of the transition. So we wanted to say, look, we can go ahead and deny a request that is for a period of time that occurs prior to the plan transition date. The proposed change says that we could deny for the full leave that began prior, or they don't say full leave, but it could be interpreted as saying the full leave. And we think that that creates ambiguity and creates the impression that we would deny an entire claim simply because some portion of it occurred prior to the plan transition date, which is not what we want. We want to say that if your leave starts on December 15th, but the coverage changes as of January 1st, and you don't apply for your private or your prior plan in December, you decide to wait till January because you decide to be with a new one, that's fine. But you're only going to get benefits from January 1st. So again, we think, while we appreciate the comments, we think that the language actually would cause more ambiguity. So we don't really want to adopt that change. Those are the comments that we received and the reasons why staff believe that we should not make any of the changes requested, and we would ask the board to adopt the policy as written and as posted in the law journal, not the trip. So, does anyone have any questions for me?
Erin, thank you so much. That was incredibly thorough, and it helped me understand all of the intricacies that you are dealing with at paid leave, and it really helps me understand it, and also gives me the ability to share that outside in my conversation. So thanks for breaking that down so simply for us to get.
I know Andrea has her hand up.
Oh, Andrea.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Erin, that was excellent. And what I wanted to add is that we did have a very detailed and robust discussion about this at the Policy and Personnel Committee meeting. And we asked that committee to vet the positions that we were taking as an organization, because we want to be respectful of the comments that we receive. But as you can hear, we've had a lot of thought and conversation. And I would also say lived experience with some of the things that have been suggested, come to the right conclusion. The committee asked us a number of questions as well to probe into what our thoughts were, and then ultimately agreed that we come to the right conclusions with respect to all of these comments. So I just wanted to add that for context as the board decides and cast its vote.
Thanks, Andrea. Important.
Erin, can you take our screen down?
Sure.
Thank you. Thanks.
So are there any questions or comments? Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the policy regarding the private plan transitions.
So moved.
Make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it, Scott.
Thank you, Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, good work. The motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move to item 5 on our agenda, and we will go into executive session pursuant to the Connecticut General Statute Section 1-206A for the purpose of a discussion concerning the appointment, employment, performance, evaluation, health, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. This session requires an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the voting members present at this meeting. The reason is to enable the board to discuss the appointment of a CEO. May I have a motion for the board to enter into the executive session?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second, Isha.
Thank you, Isha. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Fran,
Okay,
a
the
question for you.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Fran.
Of
I
course.
believe that motion requires that I be invited, and I didn't see that there.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do a separate motion to invite Andrea.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Erin. May I have a motion to invite the CEO, Andrea Barton-Reeves, to the executive session?
So moved.
So moved, Scott.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Molly. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. So here's what we're going to do. Board members, please exit out of the Zoom meeting and use the Teams meeting link that was sent to you in the meeting materials. It's also on your calendar, but you'll need to close your Zoom meeting first. And then we will meet to the Zoom meeting we'll go back to the Zoom meeting when the executive session in Teams is over. Okay, we will now enter executive session. We'll see you there momentarily. Thank you.
For the rest of us, we're going to continue recording just to show. Thank you, Amber. And we'll see you all when they come back.
Hi, Adrienne. I see you're just joining us. They are going into executive session right now. So if you can exit out of this meeting and go into your Teams link.
Ava, thank you, by the way. Okay.
You have a quorum, Fran. If you
All
want
right,
to-
wonderful.
Okay.
So I am going to propose a motion for the executive committee to go back into executive session, the board to go back into executive session next week and invite Erin to join us. May I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Oh, Michelle is not here, and neither is Sheila. Let me tell her to go back to the other link. Okay, the motion carries. Hold on. Sorry, everyone. Let me just tell Michelle. Okay, so thanks, Molly. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so that being said, we will go into executive session. We'll reach out to everyone with the doodle poll. I will ask Amber to help us do that. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thanks, everyone. Hopefully see some of you next week. Thank you.